to do. And so we are excited. People are signing
Absolutely.
up. They've bought tickets.
Absolutely.
They are excited. They're getting their groups together. They're getting their rooms reserved. I would definitely say get your room reserved because space is limited at that
That's right.
hotel.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was at we were at a men's panel, and
Uh-huh.
so one of the visiting pastors asked, "Who is single here?" And a bunch of men raised their hand, and this is what they said: We need a singles like conference. And I'm like, hey, we're here, shameless plug. And so,
Did you say that?
yeah, I did. I said, hey, and this is not that. It's coming up in September. And so, and I think a lot of them already knew that because of being on social media. But my point is this: there are men that are single, looking for they're looking for good women, and they're not some ran down men. I'm gonna say this: they were very well together, doing well in life. And they are looking just for some solid.
But
Oh.
I can't. You know.
What happened? What just happened?
Because there was once a time where that was what people were looking for. And I would think that that's what people would be looking for. Good, solid men and women who have something going for themselves, men who can, support their own selves and potentially support someone, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
right? But I've been listening to people say that they're not interested in people because, like they shoelaces is dirty.
What?
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, is that where we've gotten to?
What's wrong with our shoelaces?
No, I'm being real serious.
Are they that?
I'm being real serious.
Are they that immature?
No, I don't know, and that's where I'm a little confused as to what's happening in this era that we're living in, and that's why I'm so excited because I want to make sure that we're mentoring people in the right frame of mind and not taking for granted that what it was 20 years ago, what people were looking for, stability, looking for people that have things going for themselves and that want to be like that. That's still what we're looking for as a society, as a whole, and not turned off because he has all of this, but because his fit wasn't exactly the way you wanted it. So he's not going to be a good fit for you. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
And that's where, because I'm listening to people where, we're counseling, we're coaching single people, that it just seems that like there's a disconnect between what you're talking about right now, right? What people, like you're saying, good men, right? But then you have the ladies and you present them and they're like, well, no, they're not good men. And you're trying to figure out why they're not good men. They work, they take care. If they do have children, they take care of their children, or they don't have any children, or they're looking and they're respectful, and they're still not being honored for that. They're still being dismissed. And I'm realizing in this day and time we're living in, we're dismissing because of trivial things,
right,
in my opinion.
I agree. I think there's this checklist that people have that, I would say.
Well, you're not tall enough. I mean, I get it, but I don't.
I just think that a lot of times we just got to go back to, like what's the necessities in a relationship. I think that's the most important. Like, what's the necessities in the job? What's the necessities in the house? Do you have to have all the extras? That'd be nice. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, what do you really need? And so I think that sometimes people are passing that up. Like you said, the shoestrings. I mean, doggone it. You could.
I've heard it.
You could put them in the machine. Go buy them some new shoestrings. It's not a big deal. So I think when you had your shoes when we first dated, you had some gold shoes and you bought new shoes.
Okay. So here's the thing, and I want you to make sure but see, this is fabulous. This is a fabulous part of the conversation. So when we got together when we were 16 years old, we got together. No, don't get on your phone now, Reverend. We got together when we were 16 years old.
Yes, tell the story.
I'm going to tell the story. And this is why you got to be careful what you judge people by.
Uh-oh.
Because you may not even know what you're talking about. Okay. So do you want to know? See, this is something different that I've never brought up. I'm going to bring it up. Okay. So I had some gold shoes that to this day, he says, I just didn't like those. And I didn't want to even pursue you because you had these gold shoes on.
It's true. Very, very, very carnal. Okay.
Very carnal. Yeah. But here's the thing, ladies. I had on Tims. They were Tims. They were the gold ones. The light tan ones. They were Timberlands. Now we know Timberlands cost a whole lot of money. And I'm flexing brand new ones at the age of 16. But see, he comes from a family. I'll just say this. They did well, but there were 7 of them. So ain't none of them never had no Timbs. I don't even think that they knew what Timberlands were, right? So he had this persona or this, of what he thought I should have on, but not even realizing that I wasn't looking bummy. You just didn't know nothing about what I
I
had
didn't
on.
know nothing about what she had on. This is true.
And you were going to dismiss this?
Come on. You can't see.
Because I had Timberlands on?
She's on Facebook Live. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen. No, and I'm glad.
Oh, we're back on too.
I'm glad I didn't dismiss you over some Timberlands. My goodness gracious, I would have messed up, guys. But listen.
But that's what I'm saying is that sometimes we make judgment calls and then we bring a finality to something that we don't have no knowledge of.
That is fixable.
Right. So even if we go back to the shoestrings, you don't know why that man's shoestrings was dirty.
And this is a funny thing. It sounds so comical and so
but it's
small,
for real,
minute,
and that's what makes me sad.
Yeah, people are throwing away people just because of little things. Oh, his hairline or his hair or something like that.
Well,
what
a
about
hairline is, huh?
That's different. Wait, I don't get it. I'm lost. I don't. You know what? You just need to have a women's panel, and what are you looking for? My goodness gracious! And put up pictures of a bunch of men.
But that makes you look totally different. If your hairline is like right here, right, that goes into kind of like the way you look. But if your hairline is way back there, that's like something totally different.
But see, babe, well, I'm just gonna say,
and I'm not saying
my hair's going thin.
But babe, I already love you. We're already together, babe. We ain't even been talking about nothing. It's been 15 minutes.
Okay, first of all, let's give a shout out to one of the best church. I say the best church here in Las Vegas is Restoration Church.
It's the 107
It's the
for
107.
me.
Some incredible people, and just a great service today. Shout out also to Design Mind. Apparel, T-shirt. Is it
Design Mind T-shirt and apparel?
T-shirt and apparel. What does this shirt say?
It says, if God didn't give it to you, give it back. That is something you have preached one time.
And then I got some stuff on the back.
Yeah.
I don't know if people can see it. Let me see.
So this was some of the stuff you were talking about: fear, guilt, shame, worry, and it's all. There's a line through it because those are the things that we're given back because we know God has not given us those things.
That's right. So in regards to that, how can people find Design Mind?
You can find Design Mind and Apparel. I'm not quite sure what you have a card on you.
Oh, I do have it on me.
Miss Monique Jones is the owner and operator of Design Mind. If you are in need of T-shirts, apparel, conference bags, folders, whatever it is that you may need, listen, go to our website. And you can definitely hit us up and we can put you in contact with Design Mind.
Say.com.
Yes.
All right. So listen, as we're talking about, we were sharing about obviously the upcoming conference, but we wanted to talk about a little bit about relationships and ministry. Mm-hmm. I know that's what you spoke about in regards of what does that look like? Times is challenging. The days and times that we're living in, we're having challenging times, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like, when it comes to a relationship, marriage, and in ministry? Is that what you were, kind of leaning towards?
Yeah, I there's this, I feel like there's a disappointment with people, or there's a lack of clarity with what it is that we're supposed to be doing just in life. There are many things that will make us be sober-minded, to let us know, I don't know if we're on the right track or if we're not. But one of the things that was on my heart is, just relationships. And no matter what status you're in, single or married, what is your purpose? And what I mean by that is that one of the things I was sharing with you in the car is that it's a lot of times that people will say, when they're married, I feel like we're just existing. Or a single person feels like, there has to be more to life than this. And so what is that more? No matter where you're at, what is the more? And I don't hear a lot of marriages talk about ministry. What is the ministry of that marriage? Now, what does ministry mean? You're the preacher. Tell us what ministry means.
Ministry is that which is serving that of others. Mm-hmm. So it can be ministry to your wife. It could be ministry together that you feel impressed that God has put in your heart to do for others. And so it can be a ministry that deals with
meeting the need. It just means to meet the need.
But it's a service of that service to another person or people.
Right. So when we get married, we're not married. And some of the conversation we were having is that, it's just me, 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 me. We're getting married because we don't
Mm.
want to be alone. We get married because yes, two are better than one. We get that. But two are better than one for what?
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. For what is the for what? What's the for what? No, I'm
No,
being honest. No, I'm
two.
two are better than one for
Yeah,
what?
but two are better
No,
than. Go ahead.
right, because this is what I'm saying. This is the maturity part in relationships and marriages. Why are you getting together?
Mm.
Why? To have sex? What? To get married? What? To not be alone? Okay, great. To have kids? Okay, so we did that. We accomplished all of that in the first 3 months. We got pregnant, we got married, so we're not alone, and we're having sex. Now what?
Mm.
I'm asking you. I'm interviewing you.
Yeah. Well,
So now what did
my
you
kid's a little bit older, but
Uh-huh.
I think to your point
No,
is
I'm saying, what did you get married for, or what do you feel like is the purpose of marriage?
yeah, great question. And so we I think we have hit this so many different angles, and really from the biblical perspective that originally when God made Adam, He said it's not good that man should be alone, and I think that's a very important thing is always having a foundational reason of why God started it,
Yeah.
and then also being fruitful and multiplying. So there's an idea that God wants us to, in the heart of God, that God wants us to be productive as people. But it's not just having kids because we know now there's a ministry of training them up in the way they should go. So we can have kids, but if I'm not training them or discipling them, then they could be a challenge. Or ministry that, in regards of, there are some things that God has placed in our lives just not to exist, but what is it that God wants us to do? And sometimes that comes through prayer. Sometimes that comes through, some people are already serving in capacities what God has given them. You have a heart for young folks. But now you get married to somebody that can care less about young folks. So this is why I think it's so important to pray before you connect with someone, because what God has called you to, if you got somebody that's not really got a heart for ministry, they can actually pull you away from those things and be a strain. But then there's those that just got saved, gave their life to Christ after they were already married. And I believe that, God, what is our purpose? What is it that you want this marriage to do? And I think that's a very vulnerable space to come into, because some people are already fixated, and I believe this, they're fixated on what they're going to and not going to do. And so, meaning that I'm fixated on, I'm just going to make a bunch of money, I'm going to stack, I'm going to do all this stuff. And there's some folks that say, you know what, hey, that was our plan, but we gave our life to Christ. God, what is it you will? We're rolling these plans, we're rolling these thoughts over to you. And to be open to whatever God has for you is very vulnerable, because it may go totally against what you have planned for your marriage and your 5-year, 10-year plan. Our heart should be, as believers, to want to fulfill the kingdom mission of spreading this gospel throughout all the world. We should want to be a part of that in whatever capacity it may be. If our only agenda is to go, raise a bunch of money and just live in a nice house and a yacht, I don't think people are going to go to hell over something of that, just isolated. But we got to ask ourselves: do we really fulfill life, or fulfill purpose by just going to get a bigger house and a yacht and just me, myself, and I? Or could you have had a lesser house and maybe no boat, or just rented a boat, but you were part of ministry that was more eternal fulfillment than it was a temporary fulfillment?
Yeah. And what really caused me to think about this, I listened to you as you were ministering today, and you were saying that a lot of times, because our focus is not where it should be, that we get so fixated on us, and then there comes this place where you can never even fulfill what you're going after, because that should have never been your focus, right? So what I'm saying is that there's seasonal things. Yes, you should be working on your marriage, but you said it today, and we were talking about on the car, like, you got to make sure that we don't spend a lifetime trying to change one another. We don't spend a lifetime just trying to focus on one another, nitpicking, but there's more to the marriage than that.
Yeah.
And I believe that when people start to now go and figure out, what should I be doing with my spouse? How should we be meeting needs? Should we be ministering, or the ministry we carry? Some of this stuff that we spend a lifetime trying to fix with one another would automatically fix itself.
I agree.
That's the punchline of what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, well, you just
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you find yourself being busy,
Right.
doing what you're really supposed to be
Correct,
doing,
correct.
some of this other stuff that hinders us from doing what we should be doing probably wouldn't be a problem.
Hence and point. So let's say, like for instance,
I'll give it for instance.
Oh, go ahead.
And I want you to then, like for instance, when I see you serving, when I see you doing what you're supposed to be doing, when we come and we do these things together, that makes you very sexy to me.
Well, I'm about to
Listen
go,
to what I'm
I'm
saying.
about to go serve some more things then.
But let's say you weren't supporting me, we weren't doing things together to better serve our community. I would have so much time on my hands trying to get you to feel something that is bigger than you,
Right,
of what I'm
right,
saying.
right.
But then when we go and do, sometimes, we might be in a disagreement, but I'm like, it don't even matter anymore because we're doing something bigger than us.
Well, it takes maturity for all that too. And the reason why I say this for those that understand what I'm saying, when someone gives their life to Christ and so they were just with you, sometimes they can have the struggle for somebody now yielding their time to ministry. Sometimes they can feel like that's taken away. But if they, as a couple, were working together on it, and sometimes it's not always going to the same place as far as in, I'm the youth pastor now, I got to dive in. It could be you're helping, praying for me. It could be you're helping this, or somebody's doing a business. It doesn't mean that the wife's going to be or the husband's going to be, this or that. That can look different for different situations, but we're on the same page.
Working
because
together.
When you get a part of ministry, there's an element of sacrifice. There's an element of that my life belongs to Christ. My time, my finances, all of this belongs to Christ. And if you're with someone that doesn't understand that, they can actually be hindering you as far as in doing the will of God. So it's so important that two are better than one, because if we're both on the same page, and we're both meaning ministry, we're both having a heart for others and serving, then there's so much more we can accomplish because we're together. But if we're not, then it becomes a strain, and the focus is more on our discord or not unified, and trying to figure that out, counseling, what's going on her, he's a problem, and all this stuff. And all that does is distract us from the main thing, which is the opportunity for God to use our family for his glory.
Right.
So.
Right.
So I think that's very important. Well, we got 47 seconds. We're almost done.
Not enough time to give my next comment.
We got to hold it.
We don't.
That gives us part two. Why not? Why don't we open a can of worms with this thing? And so, listen, we hope that each and every person is just look at your marriage and say, are we really doing what God has called us to do? And if you are, be encouraged. That comes with a fight. But listen, if you're not, you got to ask yourself, why are we here? What's our purpose as a marriage?
And those are conversations you can have with your spouse. I've spoken to many people who didn't even know that they should be doing something as a marriage.
Listen, stay tuned. We'll be back next Sunday. Lord says the same. This is much to say, coming as the Naked Perspective here on the radio. We love you. We're praying for you. Keep the faith, and we'll see you next Sunday. God bless.
Bye.
Well, were you able to handle the perspective? Thank you for listening to another segment of the Naked Perspective.
If you would like to see or hear more of us, or if you would like to get in touch with us, please visit our website at www